Welcome into the F1 Starting Grid. I am your host, Brock Young, with Chaz Day. We're going to break down everything unique here with the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and anything unique going on this week in Formula One. But first, please hit that like button, subscribe to stay informed, and make sure you comment down below what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. We'd love to hear from you, by the way. Chaz, your first take on the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this past weekend.
I wish I spoke like another language so I could complain in it. Like, boy, I don't know what people say when they're complaining, but geez Louise, what a ridiculous weekend. I mean, there's a lot to get into, but sheesh.
I'm happy that I only have to say Azerbaijan only for a couple more times here until next year. I don't know. Speaking about craziness, as you said, God bless it. You had Max going out almost the second to last lap. You had because of his brake troubles, Lewis right to the bottom of the pack, second last lap as well in the restart. And you had, I'll just give you the rundown as we speak right now. You had Perez finishing first. Vettel finishing in second, and Gasly in third, Charles in fourth, you had Lando Norris in fifth, Alonso in sixth, you had Yuki Tsunoda in seventh, Carlos Sainz in eighth, Daniel Ricciardo in ninth, and 10th, you had Kimi Räikkönen in 11th. You had Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo right behind his teammate there, Bottas in the Mercedes, and number 12, you had Mick Schumacher in the Haas, Nikita Mazepin in 14th, and I can't believe I'm saying this right after that is Lewis Hamilton in 15th, the Mercedes, and Nicholas Latifi in 16th. And we had 4 DNFs with George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll, and Esteban Ocon. That leaves the standings right now 1 and 2. Max and Lewis hasn't changed, but Sergio moved up to number 3. Then it's Lando Norris, Charles in 5th, Valtteri at 6th. He dropped down from 3rd to 6th. Yeah, Carlos Sainz in 7th, Pierre Gasly in 8th, Sebastian Vettel in 9th, Daniel Ricciardo in 10th, Fernando Alonso in 11th, Esteban Ocon in 12th, Lance Stroll 13th and 14th with Yuki Tsunoda, 15th, Kimi Räikkönen, Antonio Giovinazzi in 16th, Mick Schumacher 17th, George Russell 18th, Nikita Mazepin 19th, and Nicholas Latifi in 20th. As far as the standings are concerned, Red Bull still ahead with 2 DNFs. That extends Red Bull's race over Mercedes, 174 to 148. Then you have Ferrari moving up in the 3rd place with McLaren coming in 4th. Only 2 points separate those two. Another 2 points separate AlphaTauri Honda and Aston Martin Mercedes. Then Alpine at number 7th, Alfa Romeo at number 8th. And actually, with no points, Haas moves up to 9th over Williams. That's the official F1 standing right now. So that's very interesting to see.
When you get to that level, is it based on finishing? So if Haas has 0 and Williams has 0, is it based on who finished right in higher positions? Okay.
Yeah, who was the highest positions and all that?
Yeah. Like I said, the race was it was an absolute zoo. I do feel some level of happiness, joy, even that Ferrari did not win, mostly because I very, very, very deeply dislike them. So I do feel like although Mercedes is no longer in the lead in constructors, still not in the lead in the drivers' championship. Both very, very, very bad things. But at least Ferrari did not win the race. That makes me pretty happy, to be honest.
Oh, good for that. At least. They did finish in 4th.
Yep.
and they did finish in, I want to say, I just went over this, the 8th position. Yes, fourth and 8th. With that's why they passed McLaren, with Norris coming in 5th and Daniel Ricciardo coming in 9th. 1 point each. So that's why they switched places in the constructors. But I want to get to this story right quick. With 2 DNFs based on tires, you had Stroll and Verstappen crashing out. They're both rear wheels, and they both were on hard compound. Pirelli is blaming Verstappen's crash and his tire on the debris left on the track from Stroll's race.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, I don't know. I think personally, I'm not going to read the whole entire story, but I think it's just, trying to cover CYA, basically cover their butts, and I'm trying to shift the blame to something else right now. But you got, even though it's just 2 drivers, but you still have 2 drivers on the hard compounds crashing out, and both on rear wheels. I think.
Yeah, it was both on that back rear.
Mm-hmm. And I think they have. I mean, Pirelli. I'm talking about Pirelli. They have to explain something here, and just to shift the blame. And they said even before their investigation per se, they said they start put out blame as like it's because of the track official's fault not cleaning the debris in time. But I think it's just something on Pirelli's part right there. And they're not telling us, or they're not, see, basically they're covering their butts right now as much as possible. I think it's their fault. I don't know, would you say the same way, Chaz? But I think it's their fault for both their crashes, for Stroll's and Max Verstappen's.
Well, so firstly, I meant to say is on the back left. Not that it matters, but for both of them. But I don't know. I would actually say that if we look at Pirelli's season from a holistic standpoint, that they've had a pretty successful season. You don't hear about blistering nearly as much as you have in past seasons. So it feels like they're getting those compounds down in such a way where they're lasting longer, and the tires themselves aren't becoming a character in how the race turns out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're doing a better job. Is it their fault in this particular situation? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could speculate, but it was hard to tell based on the blowouts that those guys had.
Right.
It could just be Murphy's Law for all I know. But yeah, I would actually say to the contrary. I think that Pirelli on a whole is having a better season, because they're not playing as much of a negative or positive role in how these races are turning out.
Well, I think this. I could be wrong. I think this is the first race everyone was using hard compound, or had the option to use that potential hard compound, which we were on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying that this might be, and not necessarily Pirelli's fault, but in the camp of Pirelli.
And it could be. I mean, because their compounds have been good, they could have changed them, and obviously each compound has different characteristics. So there's some compounds that are good and some that aren't, right? Mm-hmm. So it very well could be, for sure. I just think they deserve some credit for the season that they've had so far, by way of the benefit of some of our doubts.
Let's get into this story right quick. It is Lewis and his brake problem. This second or third to last lap there. He admitted that was his fault. He pressed the button on the steering wheel that created the brake problem.
Yep.
Your take on that, Chaz?
I think that it's engineering brilliance biting you in the butt. So that magic button, which is pretty nifty thing. I don't think Mercedes is the only team that has something like it, but they're definitely one of the teams that's relied on it quite a bit in the last couple of years. But the basic idea is it takes the braking power from what's usually like 50 to 60%, and it snaps them up to 90%. So they immediately get 90% braking power. And so it heats up the brakes and obviously then heats up the tires, which if you're on a sprint or a shootout like they had in those last couple of laps, you want to get as much tire heat as quickly as possible. So I couldn't really tell, because he did say, oh, actually, I think in the thing in his release, he said that he accidentally flipped it on. And I've seen the replays. It did look like, well, it's hard to see because it's behind the steering wheel. But either way, it looked like it was an accident. It didn't look like he knew what was going on. So I think he might have switched it on at the beginning of the race, like right before the restart, in order to kind of get his tires going, and then just forgot to switch it off. And then he goes into that first corner and just locks up on the right side there. So it sucks. It really sucks because, there was not a better opportunity to really get out ahead of Verstappen than a race where he crashes out, and he kind of blew it.
Yeah, the race is still very tight on top there because of the situation. Wolf was very angry over the weekend.
Should have been.
And he quoted says, "I'm so angry, but I have no doubt that this team is so strong. We're going to come back and transform the anger into a positive force. We're warriors, and we're going to come back from this." And I believe going from Baku, which we did not have a street circuit in 20 months. Now all of a sudden we had two back-to-back with Monaco and Baku. Now we're going to be switching from that to an actual circuit and the European Tour. And I believe that's going to benefit Mercedes, and that's going to benefit Lewis Hamilton tremendously. But I want to get into what is going on with Valtteri Bottas. Is it?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he's just complacent. Is he just doing like a Kimi Räikkönen, just want to do it for the money, or is he because he just signed a we talked about this, a 1-year contract. I know he wants to be number one driver, but he's not showing it.
Well, here's the thing about Bottas. Even if he became super motivated, he still wouldn't be the best driver on the best team, right? So we talked about this before. His absolute max out his potential best case scenario is, one, obviously you need to be on the best team with the best cars. He's done that, but now he's going against arguably the greatest of all time, and he's not going to win that race. So the best he could possibly do if he's maxing out his personal potential is second place. I mean, I don't know what else he's really fighting for. I mean, there's nothing to fight up to, right? It's not like you're fighting for a contract. It's not like you're fighting to keep your seat, right? It's not like you're fighting to get into a position to get to a better team so you might have a shot. You're already on the team. You're just never going to be number one on that team. I don't, and he's already, in his 30s. I just don't really know what the rest of his career looks like. And I think you might be right, Brock. I just don't think he's super motivated right now.
I can't put my finger on it. It just, ever since Bahrain, which he did pretty good in, third, I don't think he even pulled him after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Since Bahrain?
Bahrain. I don't think he has been, but I don't know. To me, it just doesn't seem like he is in that. We talked about this, right frame of mind. Oh, he actually pulled him in Portugal, and he
came in third,
and put him in Spain as well. But after that, I mean, he was running pretty good in Monaco. But then he had that problem. But he's not been consistent. That's what I was trying to make. He's not been consistent like in years past to help Hamilton and his team out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so true because even like Hamilton, does what he did in this last race, but Mercedes should still be number one in the constructors. The fact that they're not number one in constructors is like that's the real problem. That's why Toto should be really upset because Bottas isn't doing his job. That was a Hamilton mistake. Yes, it happens once every 50 races, right? But they should have Bottas there as a backup to still score points and still remain in the lead for the constructors. And he's not doing his job. He's turning in, 12th place finishes for no reason other than just not performing well.
Right. Well, speaking about who's helping out their team is Perez coming in first.
Yeah.
He really pushed that car. In fact, after he crossed over the finish line, he could not complete his actual lap back around. He had to stop at the exit pitway because I'm not too sure what happened, but there were some problems with the car. In fact, right whenever Christian Horner congratulated him, Perez's engineer got on the mic and said, "Turn it off, shut the car off, don't drive it anymore." So he actually had to exit the pit lane, get in the safety car, make the round, and come back into to go to his podium. But he showed some stuff. I think the very surprise podium this week, we had Perez, Vettel, and Gasly.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them pushed their cars. We're going to probably go into each one, but I feel that I hate to say this might be a one-off because
for who?
For everybody, all three of them.
Mm.
Because said before this, we're going into a very strong circuits for Mercedes. We're going to the actual circuits for Mercedes in the European Tour.
Yeah.
But with that, I can't take away any of their podiums right now because they deserve to be on what they did. I mean, hell, for 2 weeks straight, Vettel was the driver of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And from I think it was 12th place all the way up to second. And he was fighting for that position. And I love that battle towards the end between Gasly and Charles Leclerc. That was an awesome there too.
Yeah.
They gave some great views.
That was definitely super, super fun for the fans.
Absolutely. But your take on the podium there, Chaz?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting take that it's kind of a one-off. I don't think it's a one-off for Perez. I do think it is for the other guys, for Vettel and Gasly. Perez has been having a very solid season. I mean, Perez has been having the season that Bottas should be having, considering the car that he's in, right?
Right.
Clearly, he showed up and he did his job. Hamilton is out. Verstappen is out. He is the guy who should have won. I mean, Bottas technically is the guy who should have won, from a pure engineering standpoint. But yeah, like, he's the one who showed up out of the two of them. So yeah, good on him. Perez should definitely get a lot of praise for his turnout. But yeah, those other drivers, I do think it's just a one-off circumstantial podium finish.
Speaking of finishes, our points, I'm not going to put it on the screen right now, but all of us got the podium wrong. But Chaz, you're the only one that actually got the extra prediction right, and that was Ricardo finishing in points, so you get the 20 points right there. Moved into first with 207, Mike with 188, and I'm still at 144. I did not include that over-under because I didn't know if we should include that with, I think it was lap 21 that Mazepin originally got lapped.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, with Max's wreck at the end, all of them came back together.
Right.
Do you include that or you include the original over-under lap of 21?
So did you got it right originally, right?
As far as what? The over-under? Or
Yeah.
We're both over. We picked over, you and I. Mike was the
Oh,
only one
okay.
that under.
Okay. Well, when did he actually get lapped?
I think he actually left the 21st lap.
And what was
everybody came out.
what was the over under number?
The the original bar was 35, lap 35.
35. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that goes to Mike then. Definitely under.
So that makes him 202. Yeah, but you're still leading. Awesome.
Ricardo wouldn't have even been in the points if Verstappen and Hamilton finished where they should have. Actually, Stroll too.
Yeah.
Stroll probably would have finished in the points, or at least been competing for it. So
yeah, he would have been.
Man, Ricardo, man, that guy is just.
That's another one.
He just like, oh my gosh, it's so disappointing. It's like one of those drivers that you're excited about. You love him as a person. He's such a great, like he has the personality of a Labrador Retriever. Like he is just always happy, always in a good mood. Such a great guy, super fun, great driver, but just can't figure it out. And I don't know why. Especially as well as McLaren's been doing. I mean, we know McLaren is doing really well, mostly because of Norris and his performances. But I don't know what's going on with Ricardo, man. I think he's motivated. I mean, I see him. It seems like he's training hard. He says all the right things in interviews, but he just on race day he just can't get out of his own way, and I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, that's. I want to do a poll here, not this week, but coming up, maybe at sometime after France. Is who is not necessarily benefit the team more. It's like who's more who's having a hard time with their new team. Is it Vettel, Alonso, or Ricardo? Now I could say Vettel because Vettel, had 2 good weeks back to back, but we'll see. And that's what I want to wait on. I want to see how this. I keep on saying European tour, but how this European tour works out for these drivers. So
yeah,
and see how it really works out for them. But in the meantime, let's talk about another Grand Prix. Fortunately, this really hurts me too because this is the Grand Prix that I watched to fall in love with Formula One, and that's the Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be canceled once again this season. They said it's because of the COVID situation. They don't want everybody there all wrapped up in that island nation for the Grand Prix. So they had to go in and cancel it. And I'm just stretching here. I'm just, I want to see this too, even though it's sad for me to see Singapore Grand Prix off the calendar. This may make way, and there's rumors out there for the Malaysian Grand Prix to make a comeback.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind that. I would love to see that track again.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I'm a big fan of the Singapore racetrack, to be honest. Like I love that track. I love I love those tracks, those city tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the skyline in the background. They're just super cool to me. So it is disappointing that we won't get to see that this year.
We may see another street race here shortly, and that's the Jeddah Street Race. So we'll probably see how that goes. But once again, maybe this makes room for Malaysia to come back. Who knows? I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Our Twitter question of the week was, will Williams be able to keep George Russell? 87% to 13%, you guys said no.
Yeah.
In fact, our contributor here, Tyson McQuinn, also stated in the comments here, nope, he's too talented to be held back by a car like Williams. He'll be leaving by the end of the year. So, Chaz, your take on it.
Yeah, man, I think that's the only take, to be honest. I mean, they just can't, they won't be able to afford him at some point. He's one of those drivers that if they have the chance to, and if they can figure out how to get financing and get that figured out, he's one of those drivers that they should pay a truckload of money just to keep and to kind of build with the team. But they won't even be able to do that anymore because all the rules around what you can pay your drivers is changing. So they won't even be able to keep them. So yeah, I think it's just that simple. They won't be able to keep them. They don't have enough talent to at the other positions to keep them in his.
There was an article on F1.com last week saying that the CEO of Williams is trying his best to keep the 23-year-old over at Williams as much as possible. And I want to play devil's advocate just for a second and say that the way Williams could probably keep him, and I'm just looking at the other side of the hand here, is that he really wants to stay with he wants to be in that Mercedes spot. So you already have Bottas in that seat. If Lewis Hamilton signs again during the summertime or off season, that might be the opportunity for him. Okay, I'll stay another season with Williams.
Yeah,
just to get into that Mercedes spot.
That's a good point. It does keep him in the Mercedes ecosystem. I don't know that they can offer that to him though, because ultimately it's a Mercedes' decision to make, and it's Toto's decision to make. So I don't know if they can even dangle that carrot in front of him. And I think he knows enough to know that they can't dangle that carrot in front of him. So.
Well, it'll be interesting. That's one of the things I like about this season is so unpredictable, and how the things are going to go, and how they're going to operate too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I am sad about the Singapore Grand Prix, even though a mutual friend of ours, Daniel, he hates street courses because of lack of overtaking, which I understand his point. I agree with that too, but I still love it being at night, and as you point out, Chaz, that seeing the lights around the city, you got the big Ferris wheel right there.
Right.
It's just so awesome being there.
Yeah, it's great.
But we're going to have a new Twitter question this week: is will any other races, any Grand Prix, will be canceled this season? Go online at Former Racing. That's at Former Racing on our Twitter page. That's also good for our Facebook as well. We'd love to hear from you too. Give us any topics for us to cover here. theformofracing@gmail.com. I think that is it, other than saying we'll see you next week here on the F1 Starting Grid.
All right, see y'all soon.